Welcome to the Farms.com Daily Market Commentary for July 27th, 2012. Can you believe it? This is the last Friday in July. Today we wanted to review the current basic situation in the U.S., Ontario, and Western Canada. The average U.S. corn spot basis, as you can see in the chart in front, now at 7 cents per bushel over futures, has worsened by an average of 20 cents per bushel from a month ago. It's also considerably worse than it was at this time last year, when it was 38 cents per bushel over futures on average at July 27th, 2011. The average U.S. soybean spot basis has improved dramatically in the past month, on the other hand, having improved by 44 cents per bushel from a month ago. The current soybean basis is now 33 cents per bushel better than it was at this time last year, now at 35 cents per bushel over on average. Historically, U.S. soybean basis tends to peak from early August until early September. The basis for all wheat varieties in the U.S., Ontario, and Western Canada widened considerably in this past month, although improving from the year-ago level. After peaking in late June, the average Ontario 11-12 corn basis has since widened to negative 17 cents per bushel under futures, compared to plus 31 cents per bushel over futures in the last month. However, it has improved from the 48 cents per bushel under futures that it was at this time last year. The average 2012-2013 Ontario corn basis is now at 60 cents per bushel under, compared to a month ago when the average basis was 48 cents per bushel under futures. The Ontario corn basis historically tends to peak mid-August due to the end of early September. The Ontario 11-12 soybean basis has also improved dramatically this month, currently at an average of 43 cents per bushel over futures. This compares to negative 29 cents per bushel last month and $1.34 under futures a year ago. On the other hand, new crop soybean basis has widened to 34 cents per bushel under from 16 cents per bushel under last month. Ontario soybean basis typically peaks in early June until the early days of September. The average 11-12 canola basis has widened considerably in the past month, now at an average of 70 cents per bushel under futures, compared to just 4 cents per bushel under futures last month, and down 44 cents per bushel under futures at this time last year. New crop 12-13 basis has also widened considerably, now at 71 cents per bushel under futures compared to 37 cents per bushel under futures at this time last year. Both 11-12 and 12-13 oats basis have widened by 5 cents per bushel compared to last month. 11-12 oat basis values are now on average similar to what they were a year ago, around 75 cents per bushel under futures, and new crop oat basis is now 85 cents under futures. So bottom line, the current U.S. and Ontario soybean bases are very strong relative to historical levels. We are recommending that producers consider locking in some old crop soybean basis levels. If you have 20 to 30% of old crop left in the bin, you could use these play bushels and risk the futures price to see if soybean futures trade above $17 in the month of August, as you can see where we are currently at the August 2012 daily futures chart, to ration demand. If you need to catch up on the sales, consider flattening out old crop soybean contracts that you do on a basis contract. Do nothing on corn, canola, or wheat basis levels at this time, as we will wait for them to improve. In other news, crop forecaster Landworth sees the U.S. corn yield at 122 bushels per acre if realized. This could lead to $9 per bushel corn. Private analysts and farmer reduced their corn yield projections to 134 bushels per acre, so not quite as low as we're seeing from Landworth, from their previous estimate of 142.5. Using this yield number, this would produce a 11.5 billion bushel corn crop this year. Japanese corn imports so far in 2012 are at a 26-year low as buyers switch to cheaper feed wheat. Grain traders say that China's feed makers are now looking to sell back 3 to 4 cargoes of U.S. corn once again, bringing the total estimate to 7 to 8 cargoes to be sold back. Crop forecaster Landworth pegged the U.S. 2012 soybean yield at just 35.7 bushels per acre, and if realized, this could lead to $20 per bushel soybeans. So hold on to your hats. I guess this will all depend on what the rains say. Private analysts Informa reduced their soybean yields projections to 38.5 bushels per acre. Again, not as bearish as Landworth on the crop prospects of the states, from their prior estimate of 40 bushels per acre for a 2.9 billion bushel soybean crop. The International Grains Council lowered their U.S. soybean export prospects for the 12-13 marketing year to 35.5 million metric tons, which is a drop of 12% from the current marketing year. They now see the U.S. soybean output level this season at 79 million metric tons, off from last year's 83.2. The International Grains Chancellor, IGC, also lowered their estimate for Russia's 2012-2013 wheat production to 45 million metric tons. The Council also dramatically lowered their estimate for Russia's wheat exports to 9 million metric tons versus 22 million metric tons from last year. Russian officials are scheduled to have a meeting on August 8th to discuss grain issues and potential export taxes. The Russian wheat export number at 9 million metric tons is much lower than last year, and even though we may not get a full-out export ban, it will definitely provide support to wheat futures, as 13 million metric tons or 477 million bushels will be off the global market. U.S. wheat quality crop forecasts the U.S. Wheat Quality Crop Tour forecasts that 2012 U.S. spring wheat yield at 44.9 bushels per acre, up from last year's 41.5, while forecasting the Durham wheat yield at 42.4 bushels per acre, up from last year's 31.8. Grain markets were higher overnight as total accumulations from yesterday's Midwest rains were predictably less than expected. The 6 to 10 day forecasts remain very warm for most of the center of the country, while the 11 to 15 day maps show normal to above normal temperatures over the center of the country as well. Cash hog calls have been mostly studied today again. Packer margins have improved again this week on strength in processing cuts, and they plan to step it up another notch in slaughter rates for next week. Producers are very current and weights are light, so packers will be forced to pay solid prices for the hogs. Given that the margins are now just approaching positive territory for packers for the first time in a while, sources say that packers will not be willing to chase the market very much. Rabobank has published a new Q3 report looking at the global pork industry, which forecasts a stabilization of global pork prices with a possible downward pressure in the next few months, but a rebound in prices along with a decline of pork production is expected to be in store for 2013. The Saskatchewan Weekly Crop Report puts canola crop conditions at 18% excellent, 57% good, 17% fair, and 8% very poor. It also mentions that topsoil moisture is rated as 13% surplus, 72% adequate, 14% short, and 1% very short. The Canadian Wheat Board, or CWB, has raised its price projection for wheat, durum, and barley. The 11-12 price projections will be the final estimate that will be issued for the current crop year. The CWB said drought conditions in the U.S. Corn Belt and the deterioration of the spring wheat crop in the Black Sea region were the main factors in influencing the 2012 price hike for wheat. And lastly, today the French president spoke with the German Chancellor, with both sides agreeing that they will do all that they can to safeguard the single currency of the euro. That's all for today. Have a great weekend.